Yes, this is John from All Points TV and Flint Talk. And today we have a distinct pleasure sitting down with Karla Wagner. She's a candidate for Michigan governor. And Karla's a little bit further away from where we're usually located. We're on the southeast side of Michigan, and you're over on the west side. So, anyway, welcome to the podcast. And we hope to hear why you want to be governor and what got you into it. Okay.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I appreciate it.
So anyway, yeah, so you're a business person, and I've looked. We talked before. Why don't you go on some of the businesses you've been involved in over the past years? You know, your
Y-
lifetime.
yeah. Let me just start from high school. So I didn't go to college, but from high school, I went to work at Herman Miller, which is a big furniture manufacturing company, pretty much known worldwide. Right out of high school, I went into their data entry, and then I went to accounts payable, cost accounting, inventory control. So that's what I did for them. They tried to send me to Davenport for accounting, but I think I learned pretty much everything I needed to know about accounting in high school because I took accounting in high school for 2 years. That kind of got me started on my whole numbers game because I've kind of been a numbers person my whole life. So, Herman Miller, right out of high school, my husband at the time, he and I started a small residential construction company. He had been a builder. His dad was a builder. His grandpa was a builder. So, third generation builders. We started our own small residential construction company. I then eventually I worked at a bank. They sent me to get my securities license, which is one of the harder licenses to get. Very thorough background check, but that meant I could do stock trading and financial planning for other people. While this is going on, I had 2 kids. Went through the public school system with those kids. I also I did tax returns. So I prepared federal and state income tax returns during tax season for about 12 years. So more numbers, right? And then I got my builder's license. I mean, I'm sorry, not my builder's license, my real estate license. So I'm a licensed real estate agent. So I've been selling like real estate, but then we also started to getting into land development. So because we were builders and I was in real estate, it just a good solid move to start developing land into residential development subdivisions. Correct. So we would always find property. I grew up on a farm, so I'm not going to use farmland for houses. But we would always find properties that were pretty much already surrounded by houses that had the infrastructure like public wells and services that need to have, that needed to be in there for that. So land development. And then I was also a fully uniformed volunteer deputy with the sheriff's department. I helped them revive their mounted unit because in the meantime, in the process of all this other stuff, I built and owned and operated my own 26 stall equestrian center or a horse facility where I did lessons, boarding, training. I showed all over everywhere. So I did that as well. So more bookkeeping, more numbers, more of this, more of that. Currently, I now own a little restaurant, little diner, breakfast and lunch. As you see behind me, a antique store. So our restaurant and our antique store and everything else I did to make money was shut down during COVID. Everything was deemed non-essential except my property taxes. That's what got started me on property tax elimination and AxMItax and put me here today.
And now that's got to be controversial right there. I mean, I know that that's got to be like a shock to politicians because politicians, that's their lifeblood. I mean, that's the reason why many people go into politics for it because they know that they can have access to all that cash. I mean, that's my estimation. Maybe that's being overly cynical, but that's my view. Um, so far, when you made this idea known, more people know that. We'll go into that too. We want you to flesh out that about your idea to remove property tax.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go into that and then tell how do you, obvious questions people are going to ask you about what you're going to have to fund, services, of course. They'll let you
Yeah.
answer that. Yeah.
So you know what? As you could tell, I've kind of had a busy life, and I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities that I think God gave me and to put me here fighting this fight for property taxes. I think He gave me the knowledge and the opportunities that were going to be necessary for me to understand fully how we could eliminate property taxes. So during COVID, like I said, everything I did, I couldn't sell houses, I couldn't build houses, I couldn't push dirt, I couldn't have my restaurant opened. I couldn't have my store open. Everything was deemed non-essential except my property taxes. So then I said, well, wait a minute. How does this work? Because it wasn't just me, right? It was everybody across the state of Michigan, and Michigan was hit one of the hardest states as far as being locked down. So all of my friends are small business owners and owner-operators, right? All my HVAC guys, my plumbing guys, my electricians, my drywallers, my installers, my insulator guys, all of those people that I knew, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen to all of us?" And we saw a lot of restaurants and small businesses get shut down. They had to shut. We not only were closed down by the government, but then we had to go out of business because we couldn't pay our bills. How do you pay your bills? And no one knew how long COVID was going to last. And I had small investors, like some of my tradesmen were investors in rental property. They had to sell those rentals sometimes at a loss, because do you remember during COVID, if you were a renter, you didn't have to pay rent, but your landlord still had to pay his property taxes. How do you pay a mortgage and insurance and property taxes when you have no revenue coming in from your renters, right?
That's
So
a good question. Yeah.
so this is all the kind of stuff that's happening, and because I'm involved in so many different arenas, I kept getting information from all of these different things that were hitting me, and I'm like, things are not adding up. It's not, you can't just say it's manufacturing, you can't just say it's building, you can't just say it's real estate. It's everything was hit really hard. So, and like, I don't remember if I said I grew up on a farm. So I did grow up on a farm. So our farmers are having our farmers are having a lot of issues too. So when I talked about property tax elimination, I sat down and I thought, "Oh my gosh, look at what's happening to our state." Our When you have a state that's unaffordable, guess what? Your businesses start to leave. We know this, right? When businesses leave, guess what? People leave. And then jobs leave. Businesses leave, jobs leave, people leave, and income leaves, right? So our state was bleeding everything. Our state was losing businesses, which meant we were losing jobs, which meant we were losing people, which meant we were losing revenue. So our state's revenue was going down, but our state spending was going like this. So they try to tell us we have a balanced budget. We don't have a balanced budget here in Michigan. We're bringing in about 45 billion and we're spending close to 90 billion. Tell me how that's balanced. I couldn't run a business like that. How in the frick do you run a state like that, right? All we do is have our hands out to the federal government, right? To make up that difference. So you can see what's happening in Minnesota, and I will guarantee you that Michigan's going to be a whole lot worse than Minnesota when they come here and start looking at all the waste, fraud, and abuse that's being done here in the state of Michigan. We're going to look a whole lot uglier than what Minnesota's looking. Because think about it, John. In the last 6 years, our spending has increased by 30 billion with a B. Where did all of that money go? Because the damn roads haven't even been fixed yet, right? So with an increase of 30 billion in spending per year, how are the roads not fixed? Whose life has gotten better? Why is everything so expensive and unaffordable? Things are not going well for the people here in Michigan. We're losing people. Now, the interesting thing is, the other day they said, "Oh, Michigan's population has actually gone up." Well, it went up maybe by 1,800 people, but from like this time last year. But we're down overall anyway.
Yeah,
but it went up because we're a welfare state. People come here because it's so easy to get on welfare. It's so easy to get SNAP, bridge cards, whatever it is. That's why they come. That's who's coming here. They're not coming here to work. They're not coming here to do jobs and be a productive member of society here in Michigan. They're not coming to be a taxpayer. They're coming here to suck the system, to suck off our system, and to suck all of those services out of our communities that we will turn around and have to pay more taxes for. Why do our taxes keep going up, right?
Right. And we're not having a massive job creation I've seen under Whitmer for the past, for her whole full term, and now her second year into her second term. I don't see anything developing on that.
Exactly. So what's happening? You've seen it with Goshen, you've seen it with Marshall, you've seen it with Lake Orion. There was a project down there. You've seen these projects, and we keep injecting. We offer these companies from outside of Michigan. We offer these companies outside of Michigan billions of dollars to come here, and then we forgive them millions of dollars in tax abatements, property tax abatements. So it's like we're not only paying them to come with our taxpayer dollars, but then we're forgiving them taxes, which they don't pump back into our system, right? But they say, oh, well, but they're going to create jobs. Well, down in Marshall, Michigan, somebody sat down and figured out we were going to pay about $650,000 for each $48,000 job.
That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make
No,
sense at all.
it does not make sense at all. But look at where is all of this money going? I started looking at it. I started doing a lot of research, and I'm looking at, because your property tax bill, you pay a little bit. You pay your property tax bill to your township, right? You write the check out to the township. The township collects the money, and then they go, well, this is what goes to the schools, this goes to the zoo, this goes to the museum, this goes to the library, this goes to the jail, this goes to the county, this goes to the state, right? The township collects the money because it's the smallest level of government. It turns around and it passes all of that money on. The townships keep very little themselves because it's only township operating. A lot of cities don't have police departments anymore. They go with the county sheriffs and they just contract with them. They might have a fire department if they're not volunteer, which some of them are, some of them aren't. So townships actually need very little money, and they actually get very little money from your property taxes. So it's not like we're going to shut the township officials down. We still need a place to go vote. We need a place to buy building permits. We need a place for fire permits. We need zoning ordinances and stuff at the local level. We're not going to shut the township offices down. But you know what? If there's no property taxes to be collected across the whole state of Michigan, if we stop collecting property taxes, maybe the township treasurer only needs to work 2 days a week instead of 5, right? We don't need assessors anymore. We don't need an assessing department. There's other departments and stuff that will go away. But we still need our townships. And of course, we still need our counties. They get revenue from other places besides property tax. Property tax is not the sole source of revenue for townships or counties or schools, right? They get money from everywhere else, not just property taxes. That's just not what we've been led to believe. We think because the penalty for not paying your property tax is so severe, it's the loss. It's the loss of your property. If you don't pay this bill, we're going to come take your property. The penalty is so severe that we think the world exists around property tax. But that's not the case. What did I say? Our state is spending almost $90 billion. Do you know how much the state gets from property tax?
Mhm.
2.7 billion.
Mm.
2.7 billion of almost a 90 billion spending budget.
Wow.
That's the
That's
state. That's just at the state level, right?
an
And
extra.
it all goes into public schools.
Okay. So, I mean, it's like obviously that there's a lot of inefficiencies and where the money's people, probably wondering, and rightly so, about where is the money going? I mean,
Okay,
who's getting it?
so what we say is, because the Republicans have been very good at saying, oh, look, we just found another $20 million in waste. And what I like to say is, we are losing our homes, farms, and businesses to waste, fraud, and abuse.
And
Because we sent you that $20 million and you don't know what happened to it. But now equate that to how many houses were lost trying to give you that $20 million. And then they said, what was it? Another $654 million that they stopped, that they're like, we're not going to let you spend that $654 million on pet projects. And then there's another $8 billion. Ann Bolin said that there was one of our state reps said that there was $8 billion set aside and earmarked for pet projects. What are pet projects? That would be like if I was a state representative, right? Like, let's just say I'm a state representative and Kent County is in my district. And Kent County says, they come to me as the state rep and say, boy, Karla, we would really like another park. And I go, okay, I'll get you $1 million so you can build another park as long as you guys all vote for me again next year, right? That's basically what it is. Pet projects are projects that are funded with taxpayer dollars to secure votes for the people that are running. That's all it is. That's in a nutshell. That's what it is.
So it's aptly named pet projects. It's aptly named.
Absolutely, because it's a movie. It's like it's a little historic movie theater in somebody's downtown. But you know what? But then let that town, let that community, let that county, if they really want that, if they really want to fix that theater, they'll figure out a way to do it. Why is my money over here in Kent County paying for a splash pad in Ann Arbor? No
Yeah,
thanks. But
that's
that's what
brought
happens.
that's been brought up a lot of times. It's like, well, the money's taken from this group and over these people over here and given to these people. Well, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't. I mean,
Right.
and you're putting the burden
Right.
on these people, and how can they not resent it? How can they not resent it?
Absolutely. And how can you not resent it as as a property owner? Look, Michigan is getting very close, if it hasn't reached this number already. Almost 40% of people in Michigan are renters, not property tax owner or property owners anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that those renters don't pay property tax. They pay their landlord's property tax, right?
Hmm.
Right? So
Right.
I'm a property owner. I'm a property owner. I have my house. Here it sits, my house. Two people occupy my house. I'm paying $7,500 a year. Little old house. I'm paying $7,500 a year. If two people live in an apartment in our community, they'll pay $200 in property tax through their rent, right? When they pay rent, a portion of their rent is their landlord's property tax. Correct? You follow me?
Yeah, this portion of it, yeah.
So for $200 a year, those people can use all the same services that I'm paying $7,500 a year for.
Right, it's like a burden on people. I mean, it's like, it's an unfair advantage. They have the unfair advantage, and I know people who've actually stated it's the reason why they prefer to rent rather than own, which is obvious. I mean,
It is, but you also think, owning a home used to be the American dream. And what happens, at least it used to, when you bought a home, you built up equity in that house. It was almost like a savings. You were building towards an asset, right? You were going to have something at the end of your retirement that you could either sell and make a profit on and use that money to buy something else, or you could keep it in your family and you could pass that generational wealth down to a grandchild or something. When you rent, you don't get any of that. You just rent, you're flushing your money down the toilet every month. You're just flushing your money down the toilet every month. What do you get out of renting? Because right now, rent is almost as high as what people's mortgage payments are.
right, and they got nothing to show with that in their 10 years, 5
Eh,
years, whatever it is. They have nothing to show for
Nothing,
it.
nothing to show for it at all. So let me see. I think you asked me, where does the money go? Okay, well, just look at your property tax bill, right? My property tax bill, I'm paying for a zoo that I don't go to. But you know what? If I went to the zoo, I would have to pay admission at the door.
Mhm.
Why is it on my property tax bill?
It's
Same
like,
thing
well,
with same
we
thing with museums.
we got that right here. We got this, these, the Capitol Theater and stuff, and all these, the arts thing that they got here in Genesee County. So there's a millage on it. But yeah, I guess if you're a Genesee County resident, you get so much off if you were to buy tickets to go to these events and stuff, but you're still paying the footage, the large portion of the bill,
Well,
so that's not fair.
the thing is like, let me see. I got my property tax. Okay, so I pay $300 a year on my property tax bill for the zoo and the museum. Now, how many times could I go to the zoo and the museum for $300 a year? I
Um,
don't. How often do you go? I mean, how often do you go to the zoo? How often do you go to? It's just one museum, right? It's not like you're going to go to that museum every month. It's not like
Right.
you're going to go to the zoo every month. I mean, if I went once every 5 years, I'd be good. I haven't gone at all, but I'm paying $300 a year. I think that should be paid by consumption. If you go, you pay admission at the door. Why is I don't understand. Number one, it's on my property tax bill. Why? I don't understand why I'm footing the bill for this. And you know what? I do not want to lose my house to the monkey in the zoo.
That's good. That's funny.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
But people are. It's funny, but it's not, because every day people in Michigan are losing their homes, their farms, and their businesses to these property tax bills for services. Okay, I don't have kids in Rockford Public School. I have 4 millages right here, Rockford Public School. Well, you know what? Every other freaking tax I pay funds those public schools. My state
Right.
income tax, alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco tax, sales tax, use tax, excise tax, business tax, the lottery, real estate transfer tax. You know what? The public schools get money from all of those taxes. Why are they here? Why are they taxing my property? Schools, the public schools in Michigan, K through 12 age group, okay? K through kindergarten through 12th grade here in Michigan, there's about 1.4 million kids. But only 1 million of them go to public school. The other 400,000 go to private schools, Christian schools, charter schools, or they're homeschooled. Why are we funding the public school bucket as though every child in Michigan goes to public school? Do you realize we're actually funding per student $16,000 to $20,000 per student?
Yeah.
Because
That's
because they're funding 1.4 million. That's what the budget is set at, 1.4 million, when there's actually only 1 million kids going to public school.
and it's
And
like,
that
what are you spending the money on? I mean, in the schools, I mean, obviously the building's going to have uptake, upkeep on and all that stuff. But I
Yes,
mean,
yes, but look, that's not in that doesn't include these. I have Rockford Public School operating, Rockford Public School debt, Rockford Public School Parks and Recs, Rockford Public Schools building and site. My building here, just on the winter bill alone, probably pays about $9,000 to my public school. This is not included in the $16,000 to $20,000. This is besides the $16,000 to $20,000.
yeah. You see, that's a
But
problem with taxation. That's a problem with taxation. Most people don't realize that.
absolutely.
Yeah. Where it goes to.
Absolutely. So, and then I have a Kent District Library. So between my house and my building, I pay about $1,100 for a library I've never set foot in. But here's what I say. I tell people, I think I fund about 240 libraries with my tax dollars. And they go, "What do you mean, Karla?" And I said, think of Kent County. Kent County is one of the 4 largest counties, right? I said, every school pretty much has a library. So if I'm funding public schools with my tax dollars, am I not funding about 240 public schools, libraries? And our kids can't read at 4th, 8th, or 12th grade. What the frick? And then I'm funding, Kent County has about 43 public libraries. And then we have community college libraries, and we have universities, and we have all of these other higher education libraries. It's like, are you kidding me? And the kids can't freaking read. Who's going to these libraries? It's just a money laundering scheme. I mean, if you want to go to a library, buy a membership card, just like you do if you go to a gym. If
Yeah.
you want to go and exercise your body, you buy a membership card at a gym. If you want to go exercise your brain, buy a membership card at the library. Show
Yeah, 'cause
me the book in the library that's worth someone losing their home.
that's a good way of putting it, because I mean, a lot of people don't realize too. They think, well, people are just complaining because they don't want to pay property tax. But you will look at income tax. Then, if you do have a good job and you're investing in your future, now you're getting taxed on the money. If you got, say, it's invested, it's making money for you. You're getting taxed on that, and then ultimately they had it so they can actually, and they're trying to re-implement that taxing when you die. The death tax, or the inheritance taxes, and that's also. Look at with farms and stuff like that to be left to
Yeah,
families, but they want to tax that so they can't be left to the families.
right.
That's a serious issue too.
And John, we're gonna sidetrack real quick a minute, because I'm a governor candidate. and we have other governor candidates that are running that are talking about the elimination of income tax. And they like to point out the fact that other states have done it. Okay? I have always said I don't mind paying income tax because it means I'm making money, right? Because income tax is a tax on your labor, on your income. You make money, here's the income tax, here's what you pay, okay? To me, income tax is tied to prosperity. You don't pay it unless you are making money. So, several things on this. Number one, 2 of the states that have low income tax, Florida and Tennessee. I call them retirement states, right? Because that's where people want to go when they retire to make their retirement dollars go farther, right? Because there's no income tax on your Social Security, whatever. But most senior citizens don't pay income tax. My mom is 88. She doesn't pay income tax. Getting rid of income tax or eliminating income tax is not going to help her, not one iota. But the property tax bill still needs to be paid. And that's what's going to take her house. It's the property tax bill, not income tax. They cannot take you out of your house. They can put a lien on it if you get really, really, really far behind on your federal and state income tax. They could put a lien on your house, but they can't take you out of it. Property tax can put you on the street in a heartbeat, man. That is what's so wrong with it. Florida and Tennessee, 2 states that have eliminated income tax. Guess what they're doing now? Governor DeSantis is putting property tax elimination on the ballot for the people to decide. Tennessee is looking at getting rid of property tax. Why? Because they're predicting that their property taxes will go up 15 to 26%. You think about that. You think that's going to be a state anybody wants to go to anymore? Georgia. I talked to some people from Georgia about 5 months ago. Guess what? There's a senator from Georgia. The governor, actually, I think it's a governor from Georgia, is either going to put it on the ballot or just wrote a bill to get rid of property taxes for homesteads in Georgia. 5 months. Michigan, we've been working on it for 5 freaking years here. And our legislation can't wrap their little heads around it to figure out if it's possible to do it or not. And I'm kind of to the point where I don't care if it's possible. It has to be done. The people are sick. They're going to revolt. The people are done paying taxes when we see how much is just getting wasted. Did you see the Republic? And I'm picking on the Republicans. I'm a Republican. I don't say much about the Democrats because they don't represent me anyway. They're off in their own world doing something else, and I don't expect them to represent me. I do expect the Republicans to represent me, and they're not. We have the majority in the House right now here in the state of Michigan, and I see they're finding waste, fraud, and abuse. I see that, but where the hell have they been?
Right, they could have recently just passed that increase in taxes for the fuel tax. Couldn't they step in and stop that?
So, John, here's what they did. No, because see, in this here, I don't know if they're, are they ignorant or are they intentionally ignorant? That's what I want to know, and I don't know because think about this. Gas. Okay? You go and buy gas at the pump. We used to pay sales tax. So if you bought $3 worth of gas, you would pay 18 cents of sales tax on that $3, right? Where did that sales tax go? It went into a sales tax bucket in Lansing. Correct? Do you follow me?
Yeah.
There's a sales tax bucket in Lansing. So that sales tax bucket in Lansing right now is about $10 to $11 billion, less than state income tax. Okay, it's less than the state income tax bucket. Who benefits from sales tax? The general fund gets a little bit, the schools get the majority of it, and our townships get some of the money from sales tax revenue. Okay. Our townships get some of that money based on population. So when they removed the sales tax off gas, do you think that sales tax bucket got bigger or smaller?
Probably smaller, right?
Right, because the
Right.
sales tax is on gas is no longer going there. They created a new gas tax to pay for the roads. Okay? So now instead here's a sales tax bucket got smaller, and then they created this new little gas tax bucket down here, okay? So who did I say benefited from the money from the sales tax bucket? The general fund, the
Right.
schools, and the townships. They backfilled the schools. They said they took money out of the general fund and gave it to the schools and said, well, we can't. They added $1.8 billion to the public school aid bucket. Do you think they backfilled the townships?
No.
No. So where is the town? Who's the township going to go to when they need money to replace what the state took?
The state or the federal government, right?
They're going to come to you. You're the
Yeah.
property owner.
Oh, that's right.
Your property taxes are going up, dude. Because that's the township's mechanism to get money.
See, the thing
Right?
is,
They're gonna raise your millage. They're gonna add a new millage. They're gonna do something because they're gonna go, well, the state took some of our sales tax revenue away, so we need to tax the people more to make that up.
that's the thing is most people don't understand. They say, "We'll get it from the government." The government's the only way they get money is taking it from somebody else, and that's like
We
it's not miraculously showing up in their pocketbook either. I mean, their checkbooks. It's our money,
we the people are the government.
right?
They got and so we're talking a lot about property tax. And people always go, well, Karla, you can't just run on one thing. You're running for governor. You can't just run on one thing. But here's what I truly believe, John, that the elimination of property tax is the only thing that can save this state. We are a bankrupted state. We are spending twice the amount of money that we bring in revenue. Okay?
Right?
We do not have a balanced budget. We have about $40 billion of unfunded liabilities, which mean pensions and things that we owe people that are going to be retiring, and we don't have that money to pay them. Where's that all going to come from? Where can any of it come from? The taxpayer, the taxpayer, the taxpayer. We're going to increase this. We're going to increase this tax. We're going to add this tax. We're going to add another tax. We're going to bump up this tax because they got to get it from somewhere. Where are they going to get it from? When businesses, jobs, people, and revenue are leaving our state, who's left holding the bag? Who's left here that's going to pay these taxes? Us.
Right, they're gonna try to squeeze as
Us.
much out of us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's life here in Michigan is unaffordable.
And
And here's something that I try to impress upon people. Okay, I have a little small diner. We do breakfast and lunch. So if you come to my restaurant, this is the great thing about property tax. When you come to my restaurant and you order a burger, okay? You are helping me pay my property taxes because property tax is a pass-through tax, right? I have to take my property tax liability or what I owe in property tax on my building, my commercial building, and I have to factor it into every piece of food I sell. Every antique I sell in my antique store has got a number factored in for overhead, insurance, utilities, property taxes. Okay, follow me there? So when people come and say, Karla, I want to order a burger. Okay, here's my property tax that you're going to help me pay. Let's just say I added 20 cents into the cost of the burger to cover my property tax. When I buy the bun, when I buy the hamburger bun, I'm paying the bakery's property tax, right? And then when the bakery buys the ingredients to make the bun, the bakery is paying the property taxes of the company they're getting the ingredients from, right?
mhm.
And then when that bun gets put on a truck to go to the food distributor, whoever's hauling that bun, Now we're paying that guy's property taxes too, and the cost of that bun, right? It goes to the food distributor. He's got to pay property tax. So that a little bit more money gets added to the cost of that bun. Then it gets put on a truck from the food distributor to me. That guy's got to pay property tax. A little bit more gets put on the bun. Okay, now do that with the burger, do that with the cheese, do that with the ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, pickles, lettuce, tomato, whatever else you want, and fries. Do you see the domino effect of what would happen if property taxes were no longer collected in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, I can see the vision of like, well, they say that, what they call that, a multiplying effect. Basically you would have an impact of great upon everybody, a positive impact. They could keep their costs down and wouldn't drive up. Inflation is usually caused by government policy, but that also feeds into it.
Right. Well, think about what are people really concerned about right now because of winter? Utility cost, right? Utility cost. Consumers Energy pays about $200 million a year in property tax to the state of Michigan. I have never seen a cell tower at the library. I've never seen a power tower there, but yet they have to pay it. All they do is build towers that stretch across the land. And then they have and then they have buildings and whatever else. But think about what that does to our utility cost.
Yeah, it drives it up because they're going to just, and there's nothing that can be put onto a producer that's not just going to be passed on to the ultimate consumer or the taxpayer or whatever. Right.
Exactly. So look at like Tennessee and Kentucky, those states, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, some of those states that have a more temperate weather conditions. Okay, because if we're gonna pay you billions of dollars to come to Michigan, but then you're like, okay, but we have to heat our building, our manufacturing building, and we have to heat it all winter long, and then we have to cool it down or air it all summer long. Our utility costs are too high. That's why businesses come here and then they pack up and they leave. It's too expensive to do business here in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And we just tax the crap out of everybody. I want to go back to the income tax thing because again, when people, Perry Johnson, I was just at an event the other day, Perry Johnson, he likes to talk about Trump. They all do. Trump. 47 is Trump's presidential number, right? He's president number 47. Mm-hmm. So Perry Johnson came out and said, I'm going to put $4,747 back into the pockets of every family in Michigan when I eliminate income tax. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because like I said, my mom doesn't pay income tax. She's not going to get $4,747 to help her pay her property tax bill. If you don't pay it, you don't get it back. This is basic accounting, people. You don't get back something you didn't pay in.
Right? Everybody in this country wants it.
So my thing is, when he makes a statement like that, that's a bald-faced lie. I'm just saying that is a bald-faced lie because there's too many people in Michigan, mostly senior citizens, who do not pay income tax, but they pay a lot of money in property tax. That property tax is what's taken their house. It's not income tax. Eliminating income tax is not. Elimination of income tax is for the very wealthy and corporations. That's who's going to benefit from the elimination of income tax. Think about this. You got a piece of paper and a pencil? If you don't, I'm going to talk slow. Because this is important for people. It's just do the math, people, and it's not new math. This is old math. If the median or average wage of people in the state of Michigan, we're going to make it easy, is $60,000. It's actually a little shy of that, but we're just going to say it's $60,000. Okay? The average wage. Income tax today in the state of Michigan is 4.25%. If you multiply $60,000 times 4.25, you're going to end up with roughly $2,500 in income tax.
You still there? Hello?
Okay, there we are. We're back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. That's okay. So on a median wage of $60,000, you're going to pay around $2,500 in income tax. But what happens when you file your tax return the next year? Most people at $60,000, you're pretty much going to get almost all, at least half, if not all of it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because you've got deductions, you've got kids, you've got exemptions, you've got deductions, you've got all this stuff. So how much have you really paid?
All right.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe
Right.
maybe 1,200, maybe zero, maybe $1,200, right? Okay. But what happens if you own a house and you're paying $4,000 in property tax? Like I said, I pay $7,500. What if you own a house and you're paying $4,000 in property tax? Would you rather pay income tax that you get most of it back, or would you rather pay property tax that if you can't afford it, it takes your house?
That's, I didn't, yeah, I would definitely, yeah, I definitely worried, I never thought about that, I never thought about that. I never did. I mean, obviously I always sort of, people say too much taxes, we pay too much taxes. You're laying
Yes,
it down where nobody else has thought about it,
well,
you know?
think about this, because I want people to understand, because I've had people say, "Oh, well, if we get rid of property tax, they're just going to add it somewhere else." And I'm like, "But nothing else takes your house.
All right.
No other tax, sales tax does not take your house. Income tax doesn't take your house. We have to maintain private ownership of land." Here's another example. Let's just say I pay $7,200 in property tax, because this is easy math. Let's just say I pay $7,200 a year in property tax for my house. It's an old farmhouse on a couple acres. So in Kent County, in Cannon Township, which is kind of a, we have a lot of little man-made lakes and stuff around here, and people put expensive houses on them, drives everybody's property. So anyway, if I paid $7,200 a year in property tax, do you know what I would have to spend with sales tax attached to it? I would have to buy, think about this. I would have to buy $120,000 worth of taxable goods in 1 year at 6% sales tax to equal what I pay in 1 year in property tax. $120,000 of taxable goods. Food is not taxable. I don't need to buy a new car every year. I don't need to buy what would I buy? I'm 64 years old. I'm trying to get rid of crap. I'm not trying to buy more. I don't make $120,000. How would I spend $120,000 a year times 6% sales tax to equal what I pay in property tax?
I
And
never thought
property
of that.
tax takes my house. I talked to a farmer. I have to tell you this story. I don't know how much time we have, but I have to tell you this story, because I was doing a presentation, and I was talking about property tax elimination. And this one farmer, he says, "Well, I don't want to do that. I deduct my property tax." Okay, yes, you do, and you probably don't pay a lot of property tax if you're in a program. But see, there's farm programs, right? People go, "Oh, farmers, they don't pay that much tax because there's farm programs." But let me tell you, as a real estate agent, I've dealt with some of those farm programs. They might not pay very much in property tax until they go to sell their land. And then they might have to go back 7 years and play catch up with taxes. That sucks, because that's a lot. Okay, so there's always these strings to programs, right? Besides, who's funding the programs? Other taxpayers.
Right.
We're funding the programs that they get to take advantage of. But I was talking to this one specific farmer, and here's an example. Because I said, he goes, "Well, you're just going to raise sales tax." I said, "No." I said, "I actually think we could go back to 4 or 5% sales tax, but let's just charge more stuff." Because right now there's a laundry list of things that we don't pay taxes on, like food, right? Like food and feminine products, and then some farm equipment. They're exempt from sales tax. But he goes, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And I said, "No." I said, "Stop, think." I said, "What do you pay a year in property tax?" Even with all of his programs, he said he paid about $55,000 a year in property tax on his farm. 55,000. Remember that, 55,000. I said, "Okay." He goes, "But I need to buy a big equipment." I said, "Okay, so if you buy a piece of farm machinery, right? Let's just say you buy a piece of farm equipment and it's $200,000 because farm equipment's not cheap. $200,000, and if you had to pay 4% sales tax on it, that would be how much money? $80,000, 4% of 200,000? No, $50,000? $8,000. What? Let's do the math for me quick. My brain's fogging.
I don't have a
What?
calculator here.
Hang on a second. I can do this. Whoops. 4, I said. Okay, it's 8,000. Okay, it's $8,000. And I said, and how long does that piece of equipment last you? He said, probably 3 years. Okay, now divide 8,000 by 3, right? So
Mhm.
you're looking at, we're at 2,500, 2,750. I said, so you don't want to pay that amount in sales tax on a piece of farm machinery that you can finance and deduct, right? You would rather pay your property tax. You would rather pay your property tax at the risk of losing your whole farm.
I don't think he probably would have thought of that in that terms. I don't think most people do. Yeah.
But what I have realized is the lack of education and misinformation when it comes to people and property taxes. But this is why when you look at all of the intricacies, you're dealing with a township budget, a county budget, and a state budget. The state gets very little, the township gets very little, the county gets very little. I can look at this one doesn't even have a county. Okay. So my building here pays about $33,000 in property tax. My building where I have my restaurant and my antique store pay about $33,000. I will say about $4,700 of that goes to my township and my county, my sheriff's department, my road commission, and my fire department. Only $4,700 of a $33,000 bill. Those are my essential services. What is the government supposed to provide for me? They're supposed to protect my life, my property, right? And my liberties.
Yep.
Do that. Those are the essentials that the government is supposed to do. I would be ecstatic to pay $4,700 for my police and my fire and my county roads so that my customers could get here to my space, my restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what in the heck is all this other stuff that we're paying for, right? And people are losing their homes. They're losing their homes over moth bug spray. They're losing their homes over a light district. Now they're starting to put your trash on your property tax bill. You know what? I don't want to use that trash because guess what? My business has to pay for a dumpster. I'm already paying for a dumpster. Don't charge me for trash because I bring my trash from home and I try to fill up this dumpster.
Yeah, see, I've had people say that too. Like, well, it's like if people object to paying property taxes to go to schools, and they said, well, everybody said, well, you want to educate a populace because down the road, you're going to be benefiting from educated populace. And what you're assuming that you also haven't asked the question of why has education costs gone up so much more beyond the regular average cost of living?
John,
So I mean, especially,
I will tell you, John, the last probably 2 years ago when I did the numbers, our public school enrollment had dropped by 15%, but our school admin cost had risen by 73. So where's the money? Where's the money?
That's why it is at college universities. I mean, when I first started going to Mount Community College, it was $30 some a credit hour back in 1980, 81. Now it's like over about 100 some bucks, $150 or something like that per credit hour. And it's like, it's because they got it. Well, we got the tech fees, we got this, and it's all added to your tuition.
Well, and you know what? Here's the thing. Because I go to a lot of these presentations and there's a lot of other people there, candidates there that are running for various offices, and there's some that are running for the Board of Regents and, school board, university boards and stuff like that. And they get up there and they talk about, and I knew this too. We know this, right? The taxpayers, with our property tax bill, you can see here, I've got one on here for the community college, right? Well, Whitmer told us community colleges were going to be free to all, but obviously not to the taxpayers because we're still paying. But these colleges and these universities that are being paid for, supported by us as property taxpayers and taxpayers, state, and like I said, all of our other taxes go to fund public schools, which filters through to colleges and universities. So we're already funding them, and our kids don't get to go because it's more profitable for those colleges and universities to have kids come from out of the country or out of the state.
Mhm.
And those are the kids that are getting educated here in Michigan on our taxpayer dollars.
And if you know the truth about it, a lot of those people who are coming from other countries, they're not paying for it. Our federal government, through some program, is paying them.
Absolutely.
We're paying it for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what's going on.
we're paying for them to spy on our military installation up there in Grayling.
Mhm.
Right? So, I mean, this is that's why I'm like, people, if we just get down to the nitty-gritty, I want to take our budget, I want to take our spending back to 2019 before the infusion of that $30 billion from the COVID. It was the COVID infusion of funds into it, and then what Governor Whitmer did was she took that money and she started programs with it that were not self-sustaining. So you get people hooked on, let's just say you get people hooked on free daycare, but now how are you going to fund it? It's free to them. It's free to the people that are getting the advantage of free daycare, but who's going to pay for it? Where's the funding come from? Oh, we got to tax the people to pay for it because look, free daycare is needed because you got people hooked on the Kool-Aid, right? So now somebody's got to pay to offer free childcare for these other people. There goes 3 more people in the neighborhood that just lost their house. There goes 2 more businesses in your community that just shut down because they can't afford that millage. This is what's happening. Our farmers are being taxed off their land. They're being told when you go to sell your 500 acres.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. When those farmers go to sell those large tracts of land, who's going to be able to afford the property taxes when it becomes uncapped? No one. No one. And so the state goes to them with a solar field, with a data center, with wind, and they say, "Oh, you're not going to be able to sell this. All of your equity, you're land poor," right? Farmers are always land poor because all of your investment is in your land. And when you age out and you're ready to quit farming, you look around and you go, "Who's going to at these prices in property tax, who's going to be able to afford to buy my land?" Nobody, not another farmer. And if you're too far out and you're not close enough to public water and sewer, you're not going to sell it for development. So goodness sakes, here comes the solar, here comes the wind, here comes the data, subsidized by us as taxpayers. Now they're going to make our state ugly and they're going to take away our food production because property taxes are too damn high. So one of the things that I want, as I, grew up as a farmer's daughter, but I want, what? We certainly need to go back to homesteading, where we used to call them hobby farms or gentleman farms back in the day. Remember that? You could own 5 or 10 acres. You could have a nice big garden. You could have a little chicken coop. You could actually be a little bit more self-sufficient. Look at what RFK is doing at the White House. He wants people to eat better food. Let's go more organic. Let's not have all this fertilizer. Stop buying processed crap from the grocery store. We could allow people to buy these large tracts of land because the townships and the counties put zoning ordinances on it and they say, well, if you have 100 acres and you split off 3 5-acre parcels That's all you can split off. You can't split off anymore. Right? They tell you that. They go, you can only split the parent parcel 4 times. For example, that's what happens around here. You can split the parent parcel 4 times. So if you say I have 80 acres, I'm going to split off 5, 10, 15. That's my 3 splits. That I have my parent parcel and 3 children parcels. That's my 4 splits. That's all I can do. What do we do with the 65-acre big parcel? Because they won't let you break it down anymore. But why not sell it for 5 acres or 10 acres? Let somebody put a house and a garden and a chicken coop on it. That's what we need, people to be self-sufficient. We
I agree
need
with that.
people to be able to raise their own food and better food, have a garden. And then you know what? Here's what I know, we're all over the board here, John, but here's what I think. When I think about, I have friends that have huge gardens. My brother does it on my mom's place, has tons of strawberries, and they have people picking strawberries. They sell those strawberries for extra cash, right?
Mhm.
You've seen farmers markets. You've seen people, they go to farmers markets in town, or they have a little farm stand at the end of the driveway. They're making extra cash. They're providing good food for other people. And the government wants to step in and say, can't do that no more. No more. Can't do that. Unregulated. This, that, whatever else. They've gone after the Amish people, right? Because they don't think the Amish people regulate their food as much as what we think we should. But here's what I'm concerned about data centers. They're forcing us to go to a cashless system.
Mhm.
If you have a garden and you want to sell some groceries or food or vegetables or fruit or something at the end of your driveway, how are you going to do that with a cashless system? Is everybody going to have Venmo? I mean, what if you want to pay your babysitter? You hire some kid to come over and babysit your kids for a couple hours, and what? That babysitter's got to have Venmo? Or you
It's
want to
about giving
pay?
it's about
It's
the
about
tracing.
them tracking you,
That's
everything.
that's what they are. They wanna trace everything. They wanna trace every move we make, every transaction we make. They're gonna weigh in on what we spend our money on. "Well, we don't like you spending this much on this or what." We
Well,
we
you know
we think
what?
it's unhealthy.
Because they cheat, because
Mhm,
they cheat, they assume we cheat.
mhm.
So they wanna make sure that, oh, if they're selling vegetables at the end of the road, we need to make sure we get the taxes from that, right?
Right.
They don't want cash. How do they track cash transactions?
They can't. They don't want that.
They don't want that. They're gonna know everything about you. Now they wanna put these GPS things in your vehicle to track your mileage, because now they think that's how we should pay. Well, you know what? Hell's bells. You just put a new gas tax on our freaking gas. Why are you still exploring ways to track our mileage?
Right. With the
Stop.
with the flock cameras they wanna add and all the other surveillance. Why are we scrutinized so much? We're the ones who people who can make the real crucial decisions that affect millions of lives that go unchecked and unfettered, and nobody looks into them. Why are we micromanaged? Why the people who can make the major decisions aren't micromanaged? That's I don't like, I don't like that at all.
I don't like it at all either. They're so when I look as a governor and people go, Karla, you can't be so laser focused on property tax. But you know what? What runs the state, John? The budget.
Mhm.
The budget drives the state. Who puts money into the budget? The taxpayers. When the budget goes unfettered and they can just spend. This is what they do. We're spending money. Oh, here's the bill. Pay
Mhm.
up. Oh, we got to raise it, right? This is what they're doing. It's not like, it's like build a zero balance budget. Let's do a zero balance budget. Let's just pay for exactly what you need. And then we can assess the taxes accordingly. What they're doing is spend, and then go, oh, we need to raise taxes. But every time, so when we can get the budget under control, we will know how much less taxes we can pay. The people will have more money in their pocket. the people will be able to live with the security that their home, farm, and business will not be taken away due to a property tax, right?
Right.
Just think about the mental anguish people go through when they think they're going to lose their house, go into bankruptcy, go into foreclosure. You know what? We put people out in the street. Our senior citizens here in Michigan is going to be the fastest growing group of homeless people, our senior citizens, for just being good people and working hard all their lives. So when you think about that, and then you know what? When we make people homeless, do they not become an even greater tax burden on the rest of us? Because now we have to provide for them.
Mhm.
We
It's
can't even provide for our own families, and now we have to provide for other people that you decided to kick out of their house because they couldn't afford to pay for services they don't use. My mom and dad for a while had to pay for a hockey rink. They were never, at their age, they were never going to go play hockey, right?
right.
But they're going to lose their house to a hockey rink or the zoo or the museum or the library or paying for a transit for somebody else. And when people say, but Karla, it's for the good of the community, is it? Our kids, our school, our public school system, we're like in the bottom 5. Why are we paying so much money for the good of the community? For another park? What? People can't lose their house to a park or a walking trail, a pickleball court, or a splash pad. Are you kidding me? These are not essentials. People can't put food on their table, let alone keep a roof over their head, and you want them to pay for a splash pad? What is wrong with the mentality of these people? I don't understand where they think that this money is something that they can just piss away. And then, like the Republicans were all patting themselves on the back, going, hey, we found 4,900 ghost employees factored into the budget, and we got rid of 2,000 of them. We defunded 2,000. I'm like, well, you're still making me fund 2,900 ghost employees, and I'm supposed to be happy with you? I'm supposed to pat you on the back and congratulate you because you're still making me pay for 2,900 ghost employees?
Man, you're
These
you're
people,
giving me a lot. You brought up a lot of stuff that I didn't know about, didn't recognize, and I mean, I think a lot of people listening, to watch this and down the road is going to be like surprised at how much you've thought about this, and it's not just a one issue because it's not just that's the crux of the situation. If you deal with that, the other stuff should
oh my
get
gosh.
better. Would get better.
Because you know what? Because John, when I say I want to cut 30 billion of spending, guess what? the MEDC that's been wasting a lot of our money, it's shut down out the door. It's gone. We don't even need that department because all they're doing is wasting our money. And if we can save $3 billion by shutting it down, it's going. It's gone. This is what we need to do. When I talked about AxMItax, before Doge was even popular, right? Because Doge is the Department of Government Efficiency. And I'm like, but the government's supposed to be efficient every day with a taxpayer dollar. That's your job. Your job is to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer dollars every day. Not just when we point something out to you. We elected you and put you there. We're paying you to do that for us every day. And they want us to pat them on the back and say, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for finding that 20 million, that 3 billion, that 8 billion, that 684 million." I'm supposed to be happy? No. How long have we been funding it? How many people have lost their homes, farms, and businesses, for Christ's sakes? Sending you money, hoping that you're going to spend it responsibly, and you're an absolute failure. Our government in Lansing is an absolute failure.
Mhm.
And now, because President Trump brings up Doge, I'm like, AxMItax was the beginning of Doge in Michigan, and I started that 5 freaking years ago, before Trump was in the White House. right? Before we started talking about all of this, finding all of this waste, fraud, and abuse, I've been talking almost 6 years going, something's wrong with our state. And yet people go, well, Karla, you're not really qualified to run for governor.
I don't
Okay.
know why you wouldn't be though. That's what
Is,
I look at.
is
All the
Whitmer,
other people are politicians. Although the politicians are lawyers. Okay, that's it. That's generally the people they draw from.
is
Very.
Whitmer?
Uh,
Do you consider Governor Whitmer? Do you think, because you know what? Maybe she has the intelligence. I believe she was an attorney. Maybe she was in the Senate. Maybe she knows a lot about being a politician, but where's her freaking heart for the people of the state of Michigan?
Well, she's an elitist. She's never worked a day in her life in an actual
No.
job that actually mattered. I mean, like, I would consider a job. I mean, her dad was what the vice president or CEO of was it
Blue
the insurance?
Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, I mean that's a
Yeah.
tremendous, well-paying job. She's out of touch with reality, the rest of our realities.
Most of
She
them
looks down
are.
on us. Yeah, she looks
Most of
down
them
on
are.
us. Right.
So, and you know what? Being a good leader is protecting the people under you. It you have to have a heart for the people. She obviously does not. So yeah, maybe she can make all of these decisions and do things. But you know what? Where's your heart for the people? Cuz
Mhm.
that the taxpayers, you have to care about these people to actually want to make their lives better. It,
Right.
She
They
don't, you
don't.
know what? People will say she killed our grandparents in the nursing home. How many did not die because of the COVID jab? How many businesses were not annihilated here in Michigan because of her shutdown?
Yeah,
And what?
and she was oblivious to the damage she done. And you brought it up. She's actually like, well, I had to do this. That was my role. Is like, I did what my role demanded of me. I mean, fully oblivious that barber out there in Owasso, the old man. I
Yep.
mean, she went after him with vengeance. Okay, because he defied her, and
Yeah.
he knows the law better than she does. I mean, there was no what she was doing wasn't supposed to be permissible under the law. She got away with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I
She's
mean,
gunning for
so
the White House. So when I look at everything and I look at I think I've visited I think I've almost visited all 83 counties now. Maybe I'm shy on a couple. I'll get there though. I've done a lot of presentations trying to educate people. Number one, Republicans, will you fricking just call and get an absentee ballot sent to your house so you know when these millages are coming up to be voted no on? The reason why your property tax bills are so high is because you either stay home and you don't vote no on a millage, or you vote yes on a millage, and then you wonder why your property tax bill got bigger. Hello?
not very
Figure it
bright,
out,
but
people. Get an absentee ballot sent to your house automatically so you can go, whoa, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, there's going to be a school millage on up for election. I better go vote no if I don't want my property tax bill to increase. Okay. Get an absentee ballot. Get out and vote. Fight these millages in your community. You have to go to your township meetings. You have to go to your county meetings. Get a group together in your township of like-minded people and start fighting these things, because we're winning against these millages, and we're going to keep educating people to make sure, because until we eliminate property taxes altogether, we need to start getting rid of some of these millages that show up here on our property tax bill. And you can do it in your own community. You don't need me to lead you. You know how to do it. Get it done.
well,
Get out
anyway,
and vote.
I think we probably should wrap it up, but I mean, I've enjoyed this. I mean, I've learned a lot from this discussion, and I hope that people walk away with as much as I have. And I consider myself well informed on this, but I thank you for giving us your time there today. And
There's
also,
so much more, John. And you know
yeah,
what? Just please, I need signatures to help me get on the ballot. So you can go to that website, www.karla with a K for mi.com. Please sign up to volunteer to help me get on. I need to get on the ballot so I can keep using the governor's platform to keep forcing property tax eliminate. We need to get this done, people, or our state's not going to survive. Our people aren't going to survive for sure. We have 83 counties in Michigan. Right now, they all feel like they're standing alone. But those 83 counties in Michigan are like 83 individual pieces of a puzzle. And we need to all work together to make Michigan work. And we need to use our natural resources and generate the revenue, like making Michigan the sportsman's paradise again that it once was. That's a whole revenue stream that we have lost and replaced it with just taxing the people. There's so much other things that we can do: forestation paradise, sportsman's paradise, hydraulic energy, all the different energy sources and stuff. Like, there's so much we can do here in Michigan to make Michigan better. And when the people prosper, the state will prosper. That's where we need to be.
Anyway, thank you again, though, and we can have another conversation down the road if you choose to. And I mean, I welcome that very much. I've learned quite a bit in this conversation.
Yeah, because we didn't even get to talk about school. We didn't even talk about ICE. We didn't talk about any of that stuff.
No, I definitely would like to hear more on that, though. So I encourage you to contact me when you got available time. We'll go from there. Okay.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate this.
I really appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.